Hello everybody, Sergeant Soldier, and we're back with another How To Rust, and today we're going to be talking about the component system. Now, I wanted to do a component system video way back when Devlog 128 came out, and they first started talking about how the component system is going to be localized and stuff like that. I wanted to do a video then, but I felt like it was a little too early at that time. There wasn't a whole lot of information put out. There was basically some ideas about where they want to go, but they haven't finalized everything yet. So I said, you know what, let's wait a little bit longer, we'll see what else they put out, and once they decide on the date, maybe by that point they'll have enough information out that we can actually put a relatively informative video out. And we now have our date. It's going to be supposedly November 3rd, which means we're about a week out. And there hasn't been a whole lot more information put out yet, so I figured, you know, we're probably not going to get all that much more. We're going to get little snippets here and there, but for the most part, come November 3rd, we're going to get this huge update, and there's going to be a lot of information then, but there's not going to be a whole lot of information put out beforehand, at least between now and then. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few things in this video. Number one, we're going to address the questions that I constantly get asked, specifically about the component system. We're going to talk about comparing the component system to the previous systems, and lastly, we're going to talk about overall my feelings about the whole thing. So starting off with number one, we have the questions that I constantly get asked. Now this comes from either friends who play the game or quit the game because they're interested in the component system, whether or not they want to come back with it. B, this comes from people that are suggesting videos to me, and they're saying, oh, by the way, what are your thoughts on this? Or C, this comes from watching Rush streams, specifically the Kuda87 stream, and seeing people ask him questions all the time, and just kind of sitting there in the background going, okay, so this is something that people want to know, or this is something that people are asking me in the comment section or in the chat portion of his stream. And it's just stuff that I felt like I wanted to talk about in his stream. You know, I didn't want to be rude and just kind of take over his chat, but it's easier to address certain things in video as well, because not only one, it's a little bit easier because it's scripted, so I don't have to, you know, come up with stuff on the fly. I can research it before doing the video. And two, with the power of editing, I can kind of cut my mistakes out, because I stutter a lot, and it's better to get rid of those than to leave them in the video. So anyway, our first question is going to be, what is my overall thoughts of the component system? Is it going to be a good thing for Rust, or is it going to be a bad thing for Rust? So that's a really simple question with a really not so simple answer. Is the component system going to be a good thing for Rust? Originally, when the Devlog 128 came out, and I have it on that monitor over there, sorry. When that came out, I originally thought the component system was going to be a really bad thing for Rust. And that overall hasn't changed. The ideas they presented in Devlog 128 and the devlogs after that haven't really done much to say, hey, we're not doing it like this anymore. So I can only assume what was said in 128 is still going to be the case. What was said there, it didn't really inspire me a whole lot that this is going to be a great new system for the game. And I don't think that the other players of the game, the regular players such as you guys, or the hardcores such as you guys, I don't think you are going to respond to it as well as a lot of people think you will either. And there's multiple reasons for that, and we'll address that later on. But to answer that question, I don't really think that the component system is going to help Rust grow as well as it should be. Our second question is, of all the things that were discussed in Devlog 128, what is the one thing that you dislike most about the component system? And I think that one's probably one thing that a lot of people have in common with me. A lot of people dislike this, and that is the whole north-south tier tech spawn system. Honestly, I think it's really stupid. I really do. And the reason that they have for doing this, I mean, sure, maybe it's an honorable reason. They don't want all the small groups and the solos and the small builders to be easy targets for the large raids. So they're going to put them all in the south, right? Except they're all in the south. So all those large clans have to do is take their 500 C4 out with them and then just hit the south. Because those guys don't have all the weapons that the large clans do, because they're in the southern portion of the continent or island or whatever you want to call it. So they're going to be an easy raid. I don't really think that's a good idea. I don't think you should take all your strongest players and put them up top, and all your weakest players and put them as an easy target on the bottom. And not only that, you're talking about having craftable components, they're components necessary for crafting at the least, in a different zone from where you're building. As of right now, if you want a rock, go over that hill. There's rock over there. If you want trees, go to that forest. If you want barrels, go to that road back there. That's it. There's plenty of stuff all over the island that you can get. Except now, well, at least when this component system comes out, if, let's say, I want to build C4, and I'm a solo player, so the safest place for me to build is on the southern portion of the island, I now have to go all the way up to the northern part of the island and hope to get components, and not only be lucky enough to get them while there, because you know the large clans are going to be controlling the north, I have to be able to get out and get back home. It doesn't really sound very fun, does it? You're going to be dying more often than not trying to get these components. And I think a lot of the solos and the small groups are going to get sick and tired of it. They're going to get sick and tired of trying to go to the north and say, okay, I have to be all sneaky now, I'm going to hide in this bush, and nope, tower sniper got me. You know, like, no one's going to want to do that. They're going to stay in the south, and they're going to do their bean can raids because that's all they can do, because that's all that's available component-wise in the south. And they're never going to get to experience the higher tier endgame stuff because they're solos, or they're small groups, or the large clan of 30 is absolutely decimating everyone on the server, preventing it from getting into the north. Also, one other thing that I really wanted to touch on, I might have touched on it a little bit before, is the fact that just because all the large clans are in the north, doesn't mean they're not going to move south. Doesn't mean that. If they're able to get all the components necessary to make hundreds of C4, why would they raid only the northern clans? If they're going to be huge clans like them, let's say 20, 30 people, because that does happen, why would they raid those clans when they could raid multiple medium and smaller targets and hope to get just as much stuff? Or maybe they're just griefers and they say, you know what, I just want to blow something up. Let's go to the south, we're going to blow up a bunch of bases and say, ha, gotcha. You know, like, people actually play like that. So the fact that they're separating us by, one, how many people we have, and two, our level of play, I don't really think that's going to be good for the population of Rust overall. So with that, there are other ideas that people have thrown out. They say instead of doing the north-south, do the east-west, or do centralized, where everything on the outsides by the coasts are all, you know, low-tier component crafting items, and everything in the central of the island is all the higher-tier crafting items. Except, think about that. If, let's say right now we're doing the north and the south, right? The north part of the island is huge. It's not going to be that easy for large clans to actually control that northern part. But if you centralize it to the island in the center there, it's going to be a lot easier for one of these 30-man clans to own a huge section of the map that has the highest tier items that are spawning. It's going to be a lot easier for them to control that. So having everything centralized is definitely not a good idea. And the east to west thing is really not that different from the north to south. I mean, what's the difference? Except you're moving east to west instead of north to south. And the fact that, at least in the north, everything is most of the time more mountainous and has more snow. But overall, I just don't think that it's really a good idea. I think that the way that they should do it is everything that's a low tier drop item or low tier crafting component should just be in barrels and garbage boxes. You can find those anywhere. If you need those components, pop a barrel. Those are the only things that are going to come in a barrel. Maybe some actual trash items, you know, spears, bows, arrows, sure, fine. But you're not going to find any medium or high tier craft items in barrels because they're only available in crates. Yes, you should be able to go into a rad town or a monument or something like that, and if you see a crate, you should know I'm going to get either a medium or a high tier crafted component. And there is zero chance to get the lower tier crafted components out of those things. I think by doing that, it's going to be better in the long run because it's going to give those small groups a chance still. They're going to be able to get their barrels and get their low tier crafting items. And if they're sneaky, they can sneak into a town and they can get crates and whatnot and then get out of town really fast. Or if this town's being controlled, they can go 5 minutes down the road to another town and try to get those components there. I think that it's going to be a lot more balanced in terms of the overall player population, where there's more solos and small groups than there is large groups. The next question that I receive a lot is whether or not this new component system makes the game more linear than what the XP system made the game. And I think definitely yes. The way that they described it in the devlog, and I'm going to read this right off of there. Let me find it for a sec here. Okay. By using radiation, we will prevent people from zerging all the way to the top of the map to get the best stuff. Okay, sounds good. You'll instead need to establish yourself and climb the rungs, so to speak, so you are eligible to loot these more advanced areas. So what that's saying is, literally, you need to climb the ladder, go from the bottom to the top. There's no deviation, there's no other route to take, it's either bottom, middle, top. That's it. So with the XP system, a lot of people felt that was extremely linear as well. You know, you go from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it, right? And as you progress in levels, you get unlocked items, unlocked crafting items, where it's obviously better for the higher end stuff to get more levels faster. Makes sense. A lot of games use a system similar to that. However, at least with the XP system, we have the opportunity to do different things. So for example, when Too Legit to Quit and I were playing, we did this as a duo, and we'd occasionally have randoms pop in every once in a while, hi everyone, Zaxter, and whatnot. One of us would prioritize weapons and armor and stuff like that, so that the other one could prioritize stuff for the base. Chests, shelves, all that kind of stuff. That way, we were taking different paths in terms of what we needed as a duo, but we were still unlocking everything as we progressed. Yes, it is still somewhat linear because you're going from level 1 to 500 or whatever, but you're still taking a different path. You have options, at least, with the XP system. With the component system, there are no options. That's it. You have everything unlocked from day one, which, to me, you know, okay, sure, whatever. But the fact is that in order to get to the higher level stuff, you can't just, do whatever. You can't grind resources, you can't grind barrels, you can't do all that stuff. You literally just have to go from the bottom of the map to the top of the map, and bam, you're done. So what's to stop that from someone joining a server that already has a clan? They're brand new to the server, they've put no time invested whatsoever on that server. And this clan says, hey, we live in the north, we have all this stuff, come join us, I'll bag you in, and then bam, they literally go from a brand new player to an end game rating player. Think about that. They literally skipped the whole ladder. So this whole climbing the rungs thing where they're saying, oh, you gotta work your way up to the top, that's not always gonna apply. That'll apply to the groups that start from a server wipe, let's say, and maybe grind their way up to the top, sure. But there's gonna be people that log in and say, hey, my friends are playing on this server, I can go from 0 to hero within an hour. And that's a lot of things that I disliked about Hurt World, where I would play with my friend Big Mike, and he would be pretty established on his server, and I'd literally just log in and be like, hey man, I got a few hours, wanna play? He'd be like, yeah, sure, come over to my house. And I would literally go from a guy with nothing to a guy with everything. And a lot of people didn't like that. They didn't like the fact that a brand new player that just logged in, that has 3 hours in the game, now has the best clothing items, that has a hunting rifle, that has this, that has that, that has a car, a garage. I was able to literally skip all the progress of the game and go straight to endgame because I had a friend that was already there doing it. Now, I think in the long run, that's probably going to end up hurting Rust as well as the previous, the North-South thing. That's going to hurt because people are going to be able to skip to the end content faster by simply having someone that has more time dedicated to doing it. And at that point, they're going to miss all the grindy fun. To me, the most fun is when a server wipes. No one has the best stuff. Everyone needs to gather resources. They need to be out and about doing stuff. That's your chance to go ahead and pick some fights. But if you're in a situation where everyone has the best stuff immediately because one person stayed up till midnight the night before, then there's no advantage, or at least for you. Everyone's kind of equal at the beginning. But if they have the advantage now because they have one person that has no life and they gave everything to their clan or their group, it's no fun. It's no fun being in that situation. So I think that between that, the whole linearness of the component system, and I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense that you would take a lot of the creativity out of the game and say, okay guys, so instead of you dedicating this amount of time to go ahead and grind resources and do this and do that, we're just going to make you run around and bust barrels the whole time. That's all you're going to do is bust barrels. I don't think that it's really going to be as good as what people think it's going to be. So the last question that I get asked a lot, and this video is already long enough as it is, so there are other ones, but I'm only going to do this last one. The last one will be dying with the component system, how bad that's going to suck. Now they actually addressed this in Devlog 128. They said, there are a few problems that we're aware of, such as being raided or killed will suck, as you will be unable to shrug it off and take comfort in the fact that you had at least gained some XP or unlocked some blueprints. But this is a pure psychological perception issue. We may have to figure something out for this. So, the fact that when you die with the component system, you already learned everything. There's no XP. There's no XP to gain. There's nothing to grow with. You just get items, and that's it. So if you get raided, which it's Rust, you're gonna get raided. As soon as you log off to go to bed and wake up in the next morning, your stuff's gone. That's how Rust is, right? So the fact is that when you get raided and you're killed, you lose everything. 100% all your stuff. What's stopping you from just changing servers? I mean, really, like, there's nothing keeping you in that server anymore. You don't have blueprints learned. You don't have 50 XP. You don't have level 35. You don't have all that stuff saved up, ready to go for the next time you level up. What is that honestly keeping you there? You can go and get components on any server you want. So if you lose all your stuff on, let's just say, the Rustified Happus Island, okay, well, all my stuff's gone. There's nothing keeping me on the server anymore, so I'm going to change servers now. You're going to see a lot of server population fluctuation because of this. There's nothing keeping you at a server, so why stay there? And I've probably said that like 5 times now, but I'm kind of trying to drive that point home. Like, you're going to see population influxes in servers, and for those of you that own servers, this may or may not be a good thing. You might see your population on your server empty out because that one 30-man clan decided to wipe everybody off the map, and all of a sudden your server pop went from 150 to 50. And for those of you that ask for donations or whatnot to help keep the server running, because it is very expensive, a 200 slot server on a dedicated box and all that, you're talking 200 bucks plus for the best of the best. It's very expensive, and to ask for donations and offer donation perks and stuff like that, I'm fine with that. But what do you think is going to happen when people start leaving your server because there's nothing keeping them there anymore? Because you let a 30-man clan decimate the whole northern part of the map and kill off all the player bases. So it's a very dangerous thing. It really is, by losing everything. And I don't think that, again, I don't think the players are going to like it. Eventually they're going to get raided a few times in a wipe cycle, and they're going to say, you know what? I don't like this new Rust. It sucks. I hate it. I'm going to go ahead and play something different. And that's going to be it for Rust. Rust has a small enough population as it is. So the fact that there's this potential new updated system could threaten that population even further, to the point to where we could be back to pre-experimental numbers. It's kind of scary. Especially for me, who I make Rust content, and the streamers who make Rust content. If all the viewers start dropping off and all the people that want to watch the video start dropping off, what are we to do? Keep doing a video that no one wants to watch? Keep streaming a game that no one wants to watch? We don't want that. We want Rust to flourish. We want it to grow. We want it to become very popular. It's very important to us that Facepunch doesn't fuck this up. And they might be fucking this up. So the last thing we're going to be talking about are my own thoughts, which I've already given quite a few, and comparing the component system to the previous systems. So obviously our original system is the blueprint system back in Legacy. You got an item, and randomly off of a zombie or a rat animal, or hot sauce animal as we used to call them, because they were literally bears and wolves with hot sauce poured on their back, you would get a research kit. You went home to your base, went to your research table, and you said, hey, done, I can now build this item, right? Honestly, I thought that was the best way to do it. It was unique, somewhat unique, and there was a little bit of RNG to it, but everyone couldn't get everything on day one, because the research kits had a relatively low drop. You would have to farm those zombies or those hot sauce animals for quite a while to get a stack of kits so that you could learn everything. And I mean quite a while. And then Legacy came to an end, right? We had the experimental server, or experimental version of the game with the new servers and the new map and all that stuff. When that came out, we had the new blueprint system, and that lasted for quite a long time. The XP system came out, I want to say, in July of this year, and experimental's been out for quite a while, so we ground that out. And they made changes to it towards the end by adding blueprint fragments and libraries and all that stuff. I thought that was really good. But with the second blueprint system, whenever you busted a barrel, you busted a crate, busted a box, you had the chance of getting an actual blueprint for an item. There was no more RNG factor of getting not only the item you need, but also the research kit, which was rather rare. The items are rare enough as it is. But now you just had to hope to get a random blueprint that you needed in order to learn whatever the item was. And to be honest, even the hardest stuff to get, rockets, C4, rocket launchers, with an hour or two of grinding, airport, sphere, satellite, an hour or two of grinding those places, you're going to get all those blueprints. And I think that made it way too easy. And a lot of players got accustomed to that. They got accustomed to getting all the blueprints they need within the first 2-3 days, with a relatively small amount of grinding. And I think overall that probably hurt most of us in the population that were used to the old way of getting a shotgun and saying, oh, I need to research this. I need to go home right now. And I go ahead and I use my research kit and bam, now I got it, right? When you could just walk into an airport and bust a bunch of barrels and open a couple crates up and say, hey, I got the shotgun, I got the slugs, I got the 9mm ammo, I got an AK blueprint. All the blueprints you need right there in one run. It just made it way too easy, and it took a lot of the fun of grinding out of it. So the next one we had come in was, obviously, you know, we already said the blueprint system with the fragments and libraries, which I really liked because it made it more difficult. There was more grinding. Everyone didn't get everything on day one, but the fact that you had to grind so much made it not fun. Then we had the XP system come in, and at first no one liked the XP system because it was hard. It wasn't easy mode. You couldn't get your AK, your chest piece, your face mask on day one. And a lot of people complained about that because they wanted it in day one. But to be honest, the XP system is probably the second best system right now. And for that reason alone, it made me say, you know, maybe we should look into the XP system a little bit more. And for that reason, you know, I personally like it. Because it not only made the early game a little bit longer. If you had a fresh wipe server with everyone fresh wipe their XP and everything, it's a few days before someone is actually getting something other than the semi-auto rifle. And even then, that's like day 2 for most people. A lot of the times on day 1 and day 2, you're looking at bows, crossbows, maybe the occasional revolver. That's it. Every once in a while you come up with someone with a shotgun, a water pipe, and whatnot. But if you could dodge that shotgun blast, you can pop a couple arrows in them, that's it. You won. It's actually somewhat fair. But as day 4 or 5 comes around, people start getting their weapons. They start getting the plate armor, or the roadside armor and whatnot. So it took that early game and it made it longer, which was a huge problem with Rust. The early game was like a day with the original blueprints, or the second blueprint system. Sorry, it was a day. The original blueprint system, you would be grinding blueprints for days and days and days. It didn't matter. You would just keep going and going and going because you can't grind, you know, zombies and hot sauce animals forever. You had to go and get resources too. So you would hope to get the one item that you needed, and you would hope to get a bunch of research kits, and then you just go back to grinding the resources. So with the XP system, I mean, I liked it because you weren't stuck doing one thing. You know, like with blueprints, you're busting barrels, you're opening crates, you're looking for all the blueprints, you're not doing anything else. The XP system, you're building, you're crafting, you're harvesting resources, you're going to towns, you're killing people. Everything that you do in the game gets you XP. And the fact that if I'm a builder and I'm sitting at home and I'm doing the majority of the building and 2 legit's out doing resources, if I make him a pick and a hatchet, I'm getting XP while he's getting XP. It actually brings the group coercion together. You know, it makes us work together better because of the fact that even though I have to stay home and defend our base as we're building it, I'm still getting stuff. You know, my time is being spent at the base, but I'm being compensated for it because he's helping me grow. And that's something that I think is really unique and something that I don't think we should lose. But obviously we're going to lose it because now we're going to go to the component system where we've already explained enough about that. So in the end, I think that the first blueprint system we had for Legacy was probably my favorite. I feel like it was the best because you had the chance of getting all the items, like the guns, the tools, and everything that you needed. But if you didn't get the research kit, it didn't matter. Now we kind of have that right now with the XP system, right? We have the research pages, and if you get a page, it gives you 5 crafts of whatever item. And I think that's a little too much. Even though it's half health items, you're still getting 5 of them. I don't know how that came out to be, but you know, the fact that it's somewhat the same, kind of, as the original system, I like that. What I think they should do is, you know what, take this component system, throw it in the trash, because that's where it belongs. You take your current system, the XP system, that you've only had out for, what, 3-4 months, and you make it better. You don't take something that you've given very little time to let grow and players get accustomed to, and just get rid of it. Take the XP system, remove all the level, let's say 25 items and above, and make those blueprint only. The only way you're going to get explosive C4, the only way you're going to get rockets and face masks and chest pieces and all that stuff is to get the blueprints for them. Or to get enough research pages. And one research page should not make you a crap ton of chest pieces and stuff like that. You should be able to make 1-on-1, in my opinion, because that's harder. You don't want the large clans to be able to make 35 chest pieces, even though they have health. You don't want them to make 35 chest pieces because they have a handful of research pages. So, that being said, yeah, I think that The XP system, we should just keep it. Work on it. Make it better. It's still brand new. It's still very young, and in the eyes of most Rust players. For those of you like me who've been around for a while, it's just a blip in the radar. You know, that's it. Boom, XP system, now it's gone. Let it stick around. Let it become something better instead of trying to just get rid of it right away. There's nothing saying that you can't take certain components and bring them into the game as well. You could take components, let's say for the higher end level 25 plus items, and say, okay, instead of blueprints, if you want to build these items, now you have to get components to build them. And the components are only going to be found in the highly radiated areas. Now you're still giving everybody the chance to build everything from level 0 to 25. All the clothing, all the primitive tools, the very basic guns, the semi-auto pistol, and stuff like that. They can still do all that stuff. Even the solos and the small groups have the chance to do it. And if they want to have the higher stuff that isn't going to be quite as expensive, such as C4 versus satchel charges, they're going to have to go into the rad zone to do it. And I think overall that's going to be a better solution. Is either A, take what we have now, make it better, improve upon the blueprint portion of it so that you can craft things with blueprints, or B, make it so that instead of blueprints, you take a certain portion of the component system and add it to our current XP system. Because if you get rid of the XP system altogether and you make component only, in my opinion, this game's gonna die. So anyway, that's it for this video. It is extremely long, a lot longer than what I wanted it to be. However, a lot of people ask me about the component system, and I've been going over it for quite a while. And the very first thing I said about the component system was that it reminds me way too much of Hurt World. And Hurt World was a huge flop, and I don't want Rust to become a huge flop, even though a lot of people already think that it's a huge flop. So with that, I'm going to end this video, and hopefully you guys are satisfied with the opinions that I have, the answers that I've given. I don't think the component system's the way, and I feel like a lot of you agree. And if you do make it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Otherwise, Sergeant Solj, and we'll see you in the next How to Rust video. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you want to see more great content from Private Astro or myself, please hit that subscribe button and click on any of the videos above. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next Sergeant Solj or Private Astro video. Bye-bye.